Hello and welcome to Sassy AF TV. I'm so excited to be here with Mary Allison Brown. This is our third episode, so thank you so much for tuning in. And Mary Allison, thank you for being here today. I'm really excited to have you on the show and to get to share your insight and knowledge with this audience, because you are fire, sister.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Anytime I can talk to you, I feel so lucky.
Me too. Just to give everyone who's watching a little background. Oh, before I forget, because I keep forgetting to say this. If you're watching this live and you want to throw up your comments or questions while we're talking, please feel free, and we'd love to answer them. If you are watching this on the replay, hit hashtag replay so that we know you're watching this on the replay, and your questions, of course, will be answered as well. So I just want to share with everybody that Mary Allison and I met at the Soul Success Summit back in April in Santa Barbara, which was an awesome event, great community of women, and it was so supportive. And I know that as soon as Mary Allison gave her talk, I was really excited about just learning about her and getting to know her better. I feel like we have so many things in common. To tell you a little bit about her, and of course, I'll let her give her bio as well, but she has a podcast called the Life Unboxed podcast, and that speaks so highly to me, just her whole idea of living outside the box and not feeling like you have to be set in a certain way based on expectations, based on societal expectations or how you were raised or any of those things. So lots of alignment with us. So Mary Allison is a podcast host of the Life Unboxed podcast. She is a speaker. I know she was just at an event this weekend. She is a mindset coach and a mental health therapist. So she is qualified all the way around to talk about our favorite topic, self-care, especially sustainable self-care. All right, there's your intro. So tell us about yourself.
Okay. Well,
give me a little intro. What do you want to share just before we kick things off with some of these interview questions?
So I do all of those things that you just said. And for those of you who are watching who haven't ever heard the podcast, Hallie was a guest on it, and it was an amazing episode. So it's a great place to start. It was so fun. It was so fun because you can just, the energy was amazing. But anyways, so with my coaching practice, which is, where sort of the podcast and the books and all of those other products stem from, my focus is really on helping women learn how to deal with stress, learn how to manage stress, but really like what came up for me this weekend, actually, I had this kind of epiphany at the event I was at, and what we're really doing is learning to heal from Superwoman syndrome. And I just love that concept. It just sort of like was there. We were doing a sound healing and I was like, this is what's happening, because as women, we are conditioned and we are encouraged to put everyone else before us, to take care of everyone else. And we do, right? We're amazing at it. And very often what happens is that we drive ourselves into the ground in the process. And a lot of women, when you talk about self-care, like you need to do self-care, you need to do self-care, you need to do self-care. What happens is it goes in one ear and right out the other. And they say like, yeah, that would be great, except I don't have time. Like that would be nice if I had time. Sure, I would go to yoga. I would take care of myself. I would take a bath if only I had time. And they don't feel like they can, or they feel guilty if they do. And what my, main point always is that no matter who you care about or what you care about, how you want to show up in the world, you can only be the best version of yourself when you are taking the best care of yourself. Right. And so if what you want is to be an amazing mom, and so you always put your kids first, I actually think you're doing them a disservice, because you have to take care of yourself first to be the mother that they need and deserve, And if what you want is to serve clients through your own business, great. We need that. And if you're driving yourself into the ground, you're not showing up fully in that business. So whatever it is, that's why I keep coming back to the self-care piece, because if you're not doing that, you're building everything else on a shaky foundation.
Oh my gosh, so true. And can we just talk about, and I'd love to get your take on this, especially coming from a place of like mental health and the work that you do, especially around mindset. And I love that you've said before a stress ninja, meaning that you have all these great like life hacks of how to deal with stress. So a couple of things come to mind immediately. One is, we all have stress in our life all the time. It's inevitable. We can't avoid it, right? So we have to learn how to deal with that. But the other piece is on self-care. I feel like, and you touched on this, a lot of women in particular associate self-care with yoga, mani-pedis, going retail therapy, whatever. And that's all good. And I'm a fan, like do those things, yes.
Mhm.
But I think that it's important to redefine what self-care means and truly like look at yourself. So I would love to hear your take on that, because I know that we kind of share perspective on this sustainable self-care, but I would love to stop having people think that self-care means getting a mani-pedi.
Yes, I'm so glad you asked that question, because you gave me this perfect opportunity to share my definition of self-care. I think that's why we're dismissive of it. We think it takes a lot of time and a lot of money to do self-care. It doesn't. It can for sure, right? But it doesn't have to.
Right.
And so here's the way that I define it, and I'll just offer this to you all and see if it resonates for you. But from my perspective, self-care is identifying how you want to feel and prioritizing the things that make you feel that way. Because sometimes self-care isn't sexy. There's this whole other like unsexy side of self-care that we don't perceive to be self-care, right? Like for example, I'm sitting in my kitchen right now. One of the ways that I want to feel is peaceful. When I'm sitting in the kitchen and there's like massive dishes piled up or just everything is chaos, that doesn't feel peaceful to me. So
Right.
self-care, doing my dishes is self-care. And then there's also times when like maybe how you want to feel is inspired. And doing the dishes isn't going to make you feel that way, but maybe going on a walk in nature is. So it's not like, oh, do your dishes and then you'll be doing good self-care. There is no one size fits all. It's how do you want to feel? Great. What can you do that will help you feel that way or feel more of that way? And prioritizing those things, whether they're sexy like a bubble bath or a yoga class, or they're not, like doing the dishes or taking out the trash.
Right. No, absolutely. I think a lot of it has to do with like mindset reframing. The other thing, that I'm a huge fan of is, reading for personal development and also journaling. And I think that, maybe it's because I am like a self-proclaimed personal development junkie at this point. And all I surround myself with is other people that are super into personal development. And I feel like everybody talks about journaling and gratitude, and it almost becomes cliche, but honestly, I don't think that it can be cliche. I mean, for me, I think that, even taking the time to really dig deep and do the self-work, that's also a form of self-care.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And, journaling and gratitude do become cliche, and I don't think that people are really doing them. Like I think a lot of people are, obviously, but I think that a
They
lot of
say they're
people are,
doing them, but not really.
yeah, like I think people are dismissive of it. Like because it's cliche, they're like, "Well, I've tried that before, it didn't really work." Are you doing it regularly? Are you doing it consistently? Like what is your practice around it? And a lot of people will say, "I don't know how to journal. I don't know what to write." And that's why often you'll hear gratitude journaling as a great starting spot, because it doesn't have to be big or elaborate.
Right.
It has to be intentional. And even if
Right.
it's writing down 3 or 5 things that you're grateful for, that is actually so much more powerful than people know. Like people are like, yeah, what's that going to do? Right? Like big deal. Cool.
Right.
However, when we focus on what we want, even if it's a small thing, I'm grateful there's a roof over my head. I'm grateful I
Right.
have enough food to eat. When
Right.
we focus on what we want, we get more of what we want, because we're literally priming our brain to pay closer attention to those things. So that's something that I think is really important. Like we all say, like change your thoughts, change your life, like all of that also becomes cliche. And if you really do it with intention, it's absolutely true. It's a
Right.
choice. Man, what is the actual numbers? So we all have, in any given second, there's 2 million bits of information available to us.
Wow.
And our brain can only process 126 of those.
Out of
So
2 million?
out of 2 million.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, and that's every second, right? So imagine if you're processing 2 million bits of information every
Right.
single second. But that's why gratitude is such a game changer, because when you tell your brain to focus on what you're grateful for, you're going to start noticing other things in your experience that you're grateful for.
Right.
Like it's actually going to help your brain see more of that. because your brain, like the things that we don't notice, the other rest of the 2 million things, there's 3 processes called deletion, distortion, and generalization.
Okay.
And that's how our brain decides like what to show us. So if our brain says like, oh, like it's not really important, you know, for example, this event I was at this weekend, one of my roommates wore a shirt, and then the next day she was like, I kind of want to wear the same shirt I wore yesterday. And I was like, had no, like literally no awareness. I was like, I have no idea what you wore yesterday, and I'm living with you. Like literally nobody will know. Because in my brain, like that just deleted that information because it wasn't important. So that's, you know, it's so important. And so spending that time telling your brain what you want it to focus on through a journaling practice is massively important.
No, that's good. Can I tell you the funny story? As soon as you said that about the outfit, I used to have this complex that I could only wear certain clothing. Like I had to go a certain increment of time because people would notice, especially when I worked in an office full time in corporate America. But I had this idea in my head that like if I wore this certain outfit on Monday, that I couldn't wear it again until at least the following Monday, or if not later.
Right.
Or I couldn't like wear it on repeat only on Mondays because people would remember. Nobody remembers that shit. It's crazy.
No.
We think, we think it does. We think that they do. So we can't let that like get in our way, right?
Right, because we are aware of it, which is also a good point, right? Like we sort of assume that the things that we are aware of or that we notice, other people are aware of and notice, and that is so not true at all because everybody's 126 pieces are different.
Right. What do you think about, this is something that like keeps coming up for me, and I keep, kind of processing it, and I'm kind of struggling with my thoughts, but I think we're hearing in general that there's so much information thrown at us at any given moment, and we're all moving so fast, and we've got so many demands on our time and our lifestyle, whether you're a parent, whether you're working, whatever the case is, right? And we almost can't keep up. Like it almost becomes debilitating as humans. But I feel like the more that that's true, and whether or not it's, the catalyst is technology, which certainly that plays a role. But I think we then have to adapt, and humans are very adaptable to how we live our lives and how we're more intentional about how we spend our time versus like kind of being in that victim mentality of, well, there's too many demands, there's too much information, there's too many things being thrown at me, I just can't do it, which that just makes me crazy. But I'm curious if you have kind of a take on like a suggestion or tip, or what you're seeing with your clients, even kind of just dealing with this fast-paced life that we're all living right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's not going away, right?
Right.
Like we're not going to slow down as a society.
Right.
But I think as individuals, we have to make choices for what we allow into our space and our awareness and our energy. Like junk email, for example. Like I saw someone's phone the other day and they had like 100,000 emails, and I was like, oh my God.
Oh my God, that would give me anxiety.
Like how? Yeah, no, it
Right?
gave me anxiety, and it wasn't even my phone. Like how? How can you stand that? Because I couldn't. But they're like, oh, I have to go through them. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Like you're gonna seriously, if you haven't done it yet, then you clearly don't have the time to go through 100,000 emails. And I was like, just delete them all and start over. But they did not do that. But anyways, I just feel like we have to sort of guard our energy very fiercely. I was someone who, for a long time, said yes to everything and everyone, at the expense of my own sanity and mental health and well-being.
Same.
I know, right? The people pleasing.
Right.
And, at one point last year, I was like, I have no time. I'm spread so thin. I'm always scattered. Where's my time going? Like, what is happening? And I looked at it, and I had like these 3 different fairly intense like volunteer obligations, and I was just like, I can't continue to allow this because I realize that it's not serving me. Like I'm doing this at the expense of myself. And then, which means I'm not giving them the best version of me. They deserve better. I deserve better. And so I think sometimes it requires hard choices, right? Like what can you get rid of? Really, what can you eliminate from the demands? And then also giving yourself permission to like not be Superwoman, right? To not do all of those things for all of those people, to not read every of your 100,000 emails, because there's always going to be people who want to sell you something, who want to share, want to show up, but you have to choose if you allow them in.
Right. Well, I love that you said earlier, learning to heal from being Superwoman, right? I mean, that's huge, because I know, especially as women, we all want to be everything to everyone, and often that's at the expense of ourselves, which I know that you and I are both, on a mission to help change that narrative, because I think that that is really the crux of the issue.
Yes, absolutely. And it takes a lot of strength and a lot of courage to say, I'm not doing this anymore. Because the other people in your world want you to continue playing that role, right? That's serving them, but it's not serving you.
Right.
And so realize that the only way to serve others in the way that you truly desire to and the way that they deserve is by saying no, and by having really strong and clear boundaries around what you can do and being realistic about that.
Right.
I recently had this epiphany where I was like, oh, wait a minute. I feel like this is really kind of embarrassingly late to realize this, but I kind of the other day was like, oh, wait a minute. If I'm feeling resentful about doing something, it means that I wasn't honoring my own boundaries. Shit. Like, oh God.
Right. I mean, I've done that so many times. Or what about the concept of like, we feel like if we say no to somebody, we're like, oh, they're going to think I'm such a bitch because I said no to doing this thing. No.
Right.
I mean, but first, who cares? Number one, but number two, why would anybody think that negatively of you because you're guarding your boundaries?
Right. First of all, yeah, right. They probably won't, right? If you speak your truth with love and compassion and you say, you know what, I'm so sorry, like that's a really important project and I'm so grateful that you're doing that, or that's such an important mission. I see what you're doing. And I know that I can't give you what you deserve right now. Like nobody's going to be like, what a bitch.
Right.
But as women, we have that fear so often. And there is also a really important point to be made about, so what if they do, right?
Right.
We don't get to control other people's opinions of us, and we cannot have attachment to other people's opinions.
Oh, that's so good. And it's so hard. Like that's something that I'm personally struggling with and getting stronger at, but it's so easy to say, okay, well, I'm not going to have attachment to it. And yet we still have attachment to it.
Right. And there are definitely times it's easier than others. The other day I had one that was like really easy for me to stay in that observer role and like notice what the other person was trying to do and like what was coming up for me. I was talking to my ex-mother-in-law. My kids are currently visiting my ex-husband's parents. And I was talking to her before the trip to plan the trip. And she said, oh, is he still dating that girl? And I said, oh, no, they broke up quite a while ago. And she goes, well, I don't know what all he went through with the divorce, but he'll probably never trust another woman again.
Ooh, yikes.
Right? I was so like, all right, I see what you're trying to do there. Like, I see you're trying to bait me. I'm not accepting that. I'm not coming to your argument party. That's what my kids say.
That's awesome. Good for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But it's not my stuff, right? Like she doesn't know what happened. And who knows if he's never going to trust women again, like that's also not on me because I own my part of it and I know what happened.
Right.
And so does he. And so that's also his perception of it. And I can't control it. But I was just like, whew, all right, I'm going to be observing this. I see this. Please don't say shit like that in front of my kids.
Yeah.
You're
like, please don't brainwash them, right?
Right.
Can we talk about a couple of things that we've talked about before, but I love the idea of working through energy leaks and distractions. Yeah. That I think, especially with self-care, because I think that, and just to give a little plug on my side, so today's blog article that came out on sassyhealthy.fit is all about energy, and it's all about positive energy. It's not physics energy. It's not, it's not that kind of energy, but it's how to, maintain and create more positive energy and space in your life for positive energy. And the more positive you are and confident you are, the more energy you're going to have. But I know that this is something that you feel strongly about and have some ideas about. So please share.
Yes, this is my favorite process to take people through. I call it alignment mapping. And it's hard to describe a little bit without the image, but I'll pop the image in the comments when I get Wi-Fi again.
Awesome.
Because I do have a picture of it. But so if you put your goal, your purpose, your intention, imagine it on, if you're looking at this map, imagine your intention, goal, purpose on the right-hand side, right? What are you moving toward? As we said in the beginning, that's different for everybody. And it might be being a great mom, or, stepping into your purpose, or building a business, or whatever it is. That's over here. So imagine yourself on the left side of the map. You're moving in the direction of your goal, but there's some things that can get in the way. So I imagine on the top, we have energy leaks. And energy leaks are the things that take up your energy without you realizing it. So for example, I have a great example of this, although I've realized it, but I didn't at first.
Those are the best.
Right now. I'm mid-move. I have a free challenge coming up that's supposed to start today. Holy cow, moving is a huge energy leak.
Oh my God, I hate moving.
Go ahead.
Hate it. Hate moving.
I haven't done it since 2006, so it's like, whoa. But so like, even when I'm not actively like physically moving, even when I'm trying to work or something, my energy is going to the move because I'm still thinking, what do I need to do? What do I need to wrap up? What's next? And so I'm realizing like I cannot give to my challenge what it deserves right now because I have this massive energy leak. So I'm waiting till I'm done. The other piece of it is distractions. So for example, as I'm building my business, right, last year, I realized, oh shit, I'm volunteering at 3 different organizations. Those are a distraction from me actually getting to my goal.
Right.
Those are taking me off course. And so distractions and energy leaks. The other piece that happens is that there's blocks sometimes like in the path. So the distractions and energy leaks kind of dilute our energy, our stamina, our ability to move forward in the direction of the goal.
Right.
But there's also sometimes blocks that come up. And those can be like in the form of stress, right? Like if you're just so overwhelmed, like in a state of chronic toxic stress, that's blocking your path. You're probably not moving in the right direction. You're probably not moving, actually. It's like 57%, I believe, of Americans say that they're paralyzed by stress. So you're like,
that's
stuck.
crazy.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
And then the other piece of it is like those limiting beliefs that come up for people, right? So like, am I worthy of this goal?
Right.
And all of that can get in the way. So that's kind of how I see that. And honestly, I do this practice myself pretty frequently because I'll remind myself, okay, what am I working towards? So for example, I went to the Hay House Writers Workshop in March, which means I have to submit a book proposal by August, which I have not started. But I look at that. So if I put that on the end of my alignment map, I would realize that a lot of the things I'm doing right now are distractions and energy leaks, taking me away from taking my full power in the direction of that project and that goal. So it's super powerful practice, and I will definitely pop that in the comments for everyone to actually be able to see.
No, that would be awesome. I think, and I think there's 2 things that I take away from that. One is that, we have to be aware of, where our potential energy leaks and distractions lie so that we can address that and deal with it. And that is a form of self-care. But the other thing is, what about the fact that we are putting all these goals on ourselves and this pressure on ourselves all at the same time? Like you were talking about your move and your challenge, right? So I assume based on what you said, like if you were to rewind a little bit, you probably wouldn't have scheduled the challenge in the middle of the move because it's not possible to get that done, right? So obviously you've shifted, which is great. You've pivoted to make it work for your lifestyle, which you have to do. But I know that it's like we all kind of want to do all the things, going back to this idea of being Superwoman. But when we can't be Superwoman and then we feel like we're failing and then we're not taking care of ourselves, I mean, it's this like self-fulfilling prophecy. So how do we shift ourselves, out of that constant rat race and that constant state of got to get the goal, got to keep moving, got to be Superwoman, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, it's challenging and simple. The way that you do it is that you just decide that you're not going to do that anymore.
Oh, I love that.
And you have to become willing to disappoint other people to be true to yourself. And for so many women, myself included, that's so challenging. Um, I've learned over the past few years to stand in my truth and speak my truth with love and compassion, even when I know it's going to hurt the other person or make them sad or make them frustrated or angry, because I know that if I don't, if I do things or say yes to things out of a sense of obligation that don't feel good to me, that create resentment in my body, that I am not serving them, and that's not fair to them. So I actually think it's just so much kinder to say no and to have clear boundaries. With this challenge, I was like, oh, I said I was going to do it these dates. I'm going to let people down. And is that true? Maybe. And are some of the people who signed up going to be disappointed and not want to do it? Yes, that's a possibility. And if I do it this week, they will get the most half-assed version of me you could even imagine.
Right.
And they deserve better than that, right? Like,
Right.
they don't, if they're showing up, we are inundated with things and demands on our time. And if they're taking the time to show up, they deserve me fully energized and fully present for them.
Right. No, I think that's real. And I think another way to look at self-care is showing up as ourselves authentically. Because when we are taking care of ourselves, we're not afraid to
Yes.
tell our story, to be authentic, and not this weird form of authenticity, I think, where people are like, well, I'm authentic. So, and it's like a show-offy thing, but truly like opening up, being who you are with love and compassion, right? So always with kindness, love, and compassion. I mean, I don't think it ever means just like being a rager and just like yelling at people, because that certainly doesn't feel good for anyone. But, being authentic means like opening up, opening your heart, being true, being real, setting boundaries, all of that. And I think that is a really important part of sustainable self-care, is being comfortable sharing, setting those boundaries, knowing, I can't show up 100%, so I'm not going to show up, and I'm sorry if that disappoints you.
Yeah, and I think that it's so important that those of us who are aware of this truth live it as an example to others, because when we do that, when we say no, and when we are kind and compassionate and willing to disappoint others, it gives other people permission to do the same. And
Right.
I know you and I are both raising daughters, and like, I don't want my kids to feel that they should feel guilty for having fun. That's ridiculous,
Right.
So what am I modeling for them? And that's a huge part of my sort of driving why. Like, I want them to grow up like knowing and fully believing in their worth.
I love that. So for anybody that's a parent out there that's watching, can you give an example of something that you've implemented with your kids to show them worthiness and teach this lesson, in addition to the modeling, but things that maybe you've discussed even around the dinner table that come up?
Oh, yeah, we do some different things. Let's see, what do we do? Well, we do like regular dinner table conversation. We do a rose and a thorn. So we talk about, our good parts of our day, our worst parts of our day. The thing.
Oh, I like that. Rose and thorns. I've never heard it that way.
Yeah, well, I heard it actually as peak in a pit. So
okay.
If anyone likes that better, that's an option too.
I do highs and lows.
My kids have decided they prefer rose and thorn, so we do.
I like that.
But something else that we do really intentionally. So I am part of a blended family. So I have 2 girls. My boyfriend has a son. We're blending, and so there's been lots of conversations over the past year around having a framework for our family. And so we have taken the 4 agreements and really gotten some amazing buy-in from our kids. And we teach them to use I statements. So I statements are just, the formula is just, I feel blank. When you blank, can you please, like asking for what you need. That's really powerful to me, like so simple. But when you can say and own your own feelings, I feel frustrated that you did that thing. There's responsibility. I think it's a responsible way to communicate your feelings, but I also think that it's less threatening for other people. And I think it's very respectful. So we've taught that. The 4 agreements, for those of you who maybe aren't as familiar with them, are to be impeccable with your word, to not make assumptions, don't take things personally, and always do your best. And so we have it on a whiteboard in our house. We've all signed it to agree, this is how we agree to treat each other. And actually oh my God, she just turned 7. My 7-year-old calls it the 7 agreements because we have those 4, but then we also just have as general expectations: be kind, be safe, be respectful. And so we do our best too, and we have ongoing conversations about like where we need to improve in those areas. And it's really fascinating because even the kids, will tell each other, like, I feel frustrated with you because you're not being impeccable with your word.
Right.
And so it's these beautiful conversations where we're teaching them to own their truth and communicate it clearly and kindly and respectfully.
That's awesome.
And then also we have taught them the whole, you don't have to go to every argument you're invited to. And they really love to say that to each other. I'm not coming to your argument party.
That's cute. I've never heard that before, but I like it. I like it. That's awesome.
You have that argument party over there by yourself.
Right.
So yeah. And then, we have like my older daughter and I have a mother-daughter journal where we write back and forth. She's really similar to me as a child. And so I worry because I had raging self-esteem issues. And she puts a lot of pressure on herself to be perfect.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to teach her is that pressure is only coming from her, because
Right.
I've learned that in my own life. The pressure that we feel is always internal, and we're always, putting pressure on ourselves to meet other people's expectations. And I'm trying to teach her that, and, wish me luck. It's an ongoing process.
It is an ongoing process, and I think whether you're a parent or not, but especially for parents, because and when you have young kids and we have such an opportunity to teach them and to educate them and to really shape, their lives. And, of course, we're all going to mess stuff up. It's inevitable, right? Like, we're going to mess stuff up with our kids. And we all do the best we can. But I think what you said about keep it simple, you said it a couple of times, and I want to overemphasize this because in general, we overcomplicate everything. And when we overcomplicate it doesn't work. So I think we need to stop overcomplicating, keep it simple, get messy. Don't be afraid of failure. Just dive in and do it, and go with like your integrity and like your gut. And if you are a good person, you already know the answers. You don't need to read 5 million books. You don't need to listen to 5 zillion podcasts. Like, just do the freaking work, and don't be afraid to get messy, and don't worry like you're going to fail and do it wrong. Like, just do it.
I think that's one of the biggest things that people can do to simplify it, though, is to trust that they already know the answer, trust the intuition, listen to their own inner guidance system.
Yeah.
Because we get so disconnected from that through, all of the media that we receive, and through trying to be everything to everyone else and looking to other people to tell us who to be, we get disconnected from what we already know is true.
Right.
And so, that alone is probably like the hugest piece of my mission. And when people ask me for advice, you'll always hear me say, you already know the answer.
Oh, I love that.
And, if they want more from me, I will say, I don't know. I can't tell you, but I believe you already know. And here's what I see. And I'll reflect back, what I see, and see if that resonates for them. But I think that we have this dependence on others to show us who to be.
Yeah.
And we talk about, I need to take, like, I talk about at the Soul Success Summit, I talked about golden ticket syndrome, right? Like you take one more course and like, oh my gosh, okay, but I learned this in this course, and so now I need this other course to teach me this other thing so that I can implement this. And stop. There is no golden ticket.
Right.
The only golden ticket for like your business or your life or anything, your relationships, is already within you. And if you take the time to slow down and listen to that voice, you can move forward with so much more confidence.
I think so too. And stop worrying about, the other people. If anybody here watching is in my Facebook group, we posted an article this morning that was all about how women that don't care as much about what other people think, they're overall happier. So, I mean, I think Right? I mean, it's for men too. It's not just women. So if there's men watching this, same goes for you. Like, don't give a shit what other people think and don't overcomplicate and keep it simple. It's kind of funny though, because I know all of us, it's like we're putting out content like all the time, right? It's like I'm writing, I'm doing these TV shows, you're doing podcasting, all that stuff, right? We want to give the information. So on one hand, we're like, you don't need it all. You know it inside you. But on the other hand, we're like, wait, but we have more information for you. So it's a balance. It's all about balance, and it's what speaks to you in the moment. I also think that you never know what's going to speak to you at any given moment. So be open-minded and give yourself the opportunity to be learning, right? To always be learning, but also trust your intuitive self. So it's like finding the yin and the yang within yourself.
Yeah. And my hope with my podcast is, and when I do interviews like this, is that it will spark something for people, like a remembering, it'll spark something like, oh, that's a way to look at that I haven't thought about. Oh, like I do know, right? Like I want people to start really, truly trusting that inner guidance system. And, the more you deny it and the more you shove it down and stuff it away, the louder it gets and the more persistent it's going to get. And ultimately, it's going to start, telling you in less kind ways. So you have to listen to that.
Right, absolutely. No, I think that's good. Well, I want to be mindful of everybody's time, and I want to thank you so much for being here, Mary Allison. I think this has been an awesome conversation. There's so many facets of self-care. Like if anybody has a spark of something that they take away from this episode, my takeaway would be learning to heal from Superwoman syndrome, which I love that. And also that self-care isn't just about manis and petties. It's beyond that. It's beyond that.
Yes. Yes.
Those are what's sparking for me. But I want to hear from you. Any final thoughts, of course, but also how can everybody be in contact with you and anything that you want to share? That would be great.
I just want to say it one more time for the people in the back that self-care is identifying how you want to feel and prioritizing the things that make you feel that way. And doing so really with no guilt and no shame. Like just you deserve to be taken care of. And the people in your life deserve you showing up as the best version of you. So if you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for them. Okay, so you can find me all the places, of course. Instagram, Mary Allison Brown. I really like Instagram stories, so that's where you'll find me socially the most. Facebook, you can send me a friend request. You can like my business page, which is Mary Allison Brown MSW. And then, of course, the Life on Box podcast is available basically wherever you get your podcasts. It's on iTunes, it's on Stitcher, it's on Spotify, it's on iHeartRadio, all the places. And I would love it if you would tune in to the episode that Hallie and I did together and let us know what you think about that too, because it's a whole, different take on similar topics. And we definitely want to, I think I'm speaking for you, Hallie, and I think you'll agree with that. Tell me if you don't. I would say that both you and I really strive to be the example and be leaders for women who have a million things on their plate and who are ready to start showing up a little bit differently.
Yes. Amen. In demand woman, here we come.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. I could talk to you all day long.
I know, it's awesome. We have such a strong connection and share such an alignment. Like if we did an alignment map of our own goals, I think we should do one, and I think it would be very similar.
Yes, totally. And I just want to tell everybody, if I was making weird faces or doing anything, I couldn't see anything. I'm staring at a black screen. We don't know what's happening with that.
No, I'm watching her. She looks awesome. So
it's a new experience.
It's a new experience. Technology. Sometimes you got to go with the universe, right? Roll with the universe.
Let it stop you.
Right? Don't let it stop you. Never. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget, check out the comments. Mwah. Kisses to you, Mary Allison. Anybody watching, please feel free to leave us comments. Remember, if you're watching the replay, you can post comments there. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave the comments, and we'll be posting the free guide, the alignment map, etc. That'll be coming out soon. And thank you for being here on Sassy AF TV. Have a great day, you guys. Bye.